Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani Pettiford, and I am here with these two amazing practitioners in the building. We have Lakeisha and we have Jewel, and we're going to have a conversation today. We've been talking about, challenging relationships and the struggles that we deal with. And today we're going to be talking about what to do when you have a controlling husband. But guess what? We're equal opportunists. We don't just want to talk about these controlling men, but we want to talk about these controlling women too, because it is a real thing. And control just doesn't look good on you. It does not look good on you. So we want to talk about some of the signs, some of the causes, and what to do about it. But before we dive in, we want to make sure that you let your community know that we are here. So do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Get the word out, because it's going to be a great conversation on this morning. Also, we're just coming off of a last chance weekend, had an amazing time. The testimonials are still coming in. I want to go to a quick testimonial to share with you the impact that these last chance weekends have on other couples, and then we'll dive into today's topic. So check this out.
My name is Ryan Dinkelman. Me and my wife are from Southern Illinois. We came down to Couples Academy. Before we came here, we lacked communication, lacked connection. We'd been here for the weekend. It added a lot of clarity, understanding, also giving us tools to use on our way home or when we get home, so that way we don't fall into the same patterns and the same habits and get to the same place that we were before we got here. I definitely would recommend Couples Academy for people who are needing something to help guide them on their journey to reconnection, recommitment, understanding, and seeing the point of view of your spouse.
That's right. And the next last chance weekend here, you see it is April the 14th through the 16th, 2023. People are already starting to register. You need to get in, because it's going to be a transformational experience. And we're hitting spring, guys. The weather's going to be nice. We're going to be doing some unique things when we come together. So register today. Reach out to us, set up a discovery call to see how we can help you. But ladies, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good.
Doing well. And you?
Good. I need to correct something you said, though, Hassani.
What's that?
Because control can be a good thing when it's used in the right platform, in the right way.
Okay,
Right?
Keisha, all ready? She
When
ready?
Janet Jackson, the control she talked about, that's good. Control in the bedroom, that's good, right? It can be good. It's not always bad.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're about to dive into that topic right now. But controlling, to your point, it could be like a two-sided coin, right? When you flip it on one side, it could be it could have negative implications. It could tear a couple apart. It can create bitterness, resentment, animosity between a couple. But when you incorporate self-control and you establish control in a relationship that serves as a form of protection, it can be good. So I definitely agree with that premise. But what we want to dive into is how it's showing up incorrectly. Because here's the reality: if I'm the controlling one, I think I have a good reason for doing what I think I'm doing. I think it will land well, but it doesn't always land well to the one who's being controlled. Mm-hmm. So we want to get to the root of it. What are your overall thoughts about control in a relationship and how damaging it could be? I want to hear from both of you. And then we're going to dive into some signs of what a controlling spouse looks like. Because I'm telling you right now, you're listening right now saying, my spouse is so controlling. And you may not realize that you are the one that we're talking about this morning.
Well, for me, there's a big difference between being controlling and being in control. To your point, Hassani, literally what you just said was that, being in control of yourself, practicing self-control, that's a good thing. So we just have to be very clear when we're calling out and pointing and accusing people of being controlling. It may be a situation where they're in control and you're out of control. You're not in control of your thoughts, not in control of your emotions and those different things. So we want to make sure that we are focused on being in control of ourselves. We have awareness of that, and that a lot of times we're confident, when a lot of times people may come off controlling because they're very confident, they're very self-aware, their self-esteem is strong, and they have boundaries. Right. So because I have boundaries and I'm saying what I will or will not deal with, it can come off like I'm controlling, but it's not that. It's just I'm in control of what I want, what I need, who I am, what I will allow, and what I will not allow. So I think control, like you said, is a two-sided coin. It can be a good thing or it can be devastating and detrimental to the success of a relationship.
And understanding the difference. Keisha, most people don't understand the difference between being in control and controlling. And if you understand the difference, the thought of the low self-esteem that someone can have, the thought of taking someone's identity away from them, by controlling certain situations and the other person as well. Just the whole entire thought of, hey, somebody now is making decisions for me, or I am making decisions for them.
Jewel, do you think sometimes though it comes off like they're trying to make decisions, but really they're giving suggestions or giving advice? Like, do you think it could be that way sometimes, but they're receiving it as you're trying to tell me what to do?
Yes. And I think it all goes back to being able to articulate exactly what it is you're trying to say, and not making it's not what they say. Maybe it's more or less how they say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. The energy behind it, how it comes across. Is it a sweet suggestion I'm making, or am I, we have a way. First of all, your spouse, right? And of course, we have a hypersensitivity to how we communicate with each other, and a lot of times we know the history that we have together and previous experiences cause us to interpret and to receive certain things in a particular way. And someone may have the best of intention, but it comes across as off-putting or controlling when that wasn't the intention. And so that's why with couples, you really have to over-clarify. You have to preface things. You have to make sure, listen, babe, I'm just offering a suggestion. You have to do that, unfortunately, sometimes when there's been issues in the past that you haven't been able to get over and resolve. And then to your point, people have a different value system. You could be married to somebody who just thinks different. They're wired different. They have a different upbringing. They have a different faith tradition. They have different sensitivities to certain things. And so I want you to live according to how I live, and that can come across as controlling because I want to do things my own way. And so this is why it's, we talk about oneness in a relationship, not that you have to be exactly like your partner. You don't, but there should be oneness. There should be more similarities than differences in terms of how you do life together. It just becomes a lot easier. But when you don't, and you do things your own way, and you two are separated in your approach, anything and everything can come across as very controlling.
Well, to just reiterate what we said at the start, at the top of the show, with it being a two-sided coin. So it can really be someone trying to give suggestions or advice, but at the same time, that could be a mask for really criticism, fear, and manipulation, right? And it could be them trying to manipulate their spouse. And we get into these, you know what? I'm just telling you because I just want, this is how it should be, right? Not how it can be or how, the potential is there for it to be, but I'm saying this is my opinion of how it should be. So then we're trying to force our spouses to match our expectations.
Yeah.
And I have to confess, I'm an open book. I have to confess, I used to be that person that was extremely controlling and wanted my husband to see things from my perspective. And I struggled to see things from his perspective. And I realized that, man, this is really sucking the life out of him and not allowing him to be the man that God designed him to be, because I'm trying to make him be like me. Well, that's not what God wants. He put two individuals together because we are two individuals. And what I learned was that his perspective being different is actually a good thing, because he is actually able to put me in a different perspective so I can see a different viewpoint. And sometimes my way is the best way. Sometimes his way is the best way. But if we're constantly trying to force our spouses to live up to our expectations, to match our expectations, to be just like us, we'll never be able to see the blessing of who it is that they are and what they have to offer.
Keisha, did you notice how when you were saying, well, my way will work, it was how you said it. You said it with such of, he's probably like, oh, yeah, I want her to be happy.
Yep.
Even though I don't agree, I want to just go ahead and just cave in because she came to me with them puppy dog eyes and all sincere. You knew what you was doing. You knew how to control that room.
Exactly, and that's a good point, and I think that that happens often, Hassani. You'll have to speak for the brothers today. You're outnumbered. You have to speak for the brothers, but I do believe that there are times where husbands do cave in and they do give in because they just want to please their wives. They just want them to be happy. But when they do that, what they're doing is giving away their voice, and then they get mad when we take it.
And vice versa.
Facts. This is facts. I mean, at the end of the day, most men, if they comply, they just want peace. Like I just don't want to be arguing with this
That
woman.
exhausted
I don't want
face.
this
That's how they
drama.
look.
Yeah, I just want peace. And to your point, yeah, they just want to make their wives happy. But you have to understand, wives, if they're complicit and going along with what you want, and you somehow strong armed them, manipulated them, or persuaded them, and you got what you wanted, it's not synonymous with their happiness.
Right.
And so unfortunately, a lot of times men wind up doing passive aggressive things, shutting down in other areas, just being absent in terms of how they show up in the marriage because they're just frustrated. Like, you're getting your needs met. What about me? And it's got to be a mutually beneficial type of relationship in a marriage. And that's why controlling ultimately doesn't work. But let's talk about some blatant signs of control that we want to identify. And so maybe you're the victim of this, or maybe you're the perpetrator of this. We actually had a couple who recently came to a Last Chance weekend, and this was a dynamic that they were dealing with, where one chooses or attempts to isolate their spouse from their family and friends. Mm-hmm. And because I have an issue with your brother, your cousin, your mother, your father, or I don't like your friends, I'm separating you from them. And so that is that's a huge sign. And that speaks to a whole lot of other issues that we really need to get into. What's the root cause of that? And so it's just like insane. Like, there's certain relationships that you have for a lifetime. Like, if there was an incident between my wife and a sibling or a parent, it's going to be a desire of mine to figure out how we can bring clarity, healing, and reconciliation to the situation. Because listen, my wife is going to be my wife. My mother or my sibling is going to be my sibling for life. And I don't want to be caught in the middle where I have to choose. I want to choose both because these are important relationships. But when you attempt to isolate me or cut off me from my source, from my family, from my friends, I understand the friends depending upon the situation, but some relationships just have to be there. And I've seen this cause a whole lot of problems in a marriage because one is trying to force their will on their spouse when it comes to their outside relationships. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, me personally, I mean, I've learned, and I'm encouraging clients all the time to make sure that they have their priorities in order and make sure that everything is in direct alignment with what God says needs to be. Because at the end of the day, marriage is God's design. So it's not going to be successful if you're not following his design. So it's me and my husband first, and then it's our children, and then it's in-laws and whoever else after that. They have to fall in line, right? So the main thing is to get in alignment with your spouse. Make sure that you guys are on the same page and that you're not allowing anyone outside of your marriage to weigh in on what's going on with your marriage, including children. And that's the hard one. That's a really, really tough one because we feel like because they're our seed and we birth them, that, they have somehow some weigh in into our marital relationship, but they do not. So it is a 3-strand cord. It's husband, wife, God. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So.
And then you have to decide if that person is trying to keep you away from your family, what is the reason? Is it to protect you, or is it to control you? And if they're protecting you, what are they protecting you from? What is it that transpired that they feel as though it's best for you to stay in over here in this household and forget about them? Are they trying to come between you? Or is it that spouse just doesn't want them to open your eyes to what's really going on in your home?
Yeah. So it is an important issue. Let's go to another huge sign of a controlling spouse. This is someone who is chronically criticizing their spouse all the time, even for the little things. Like, everything's a problem. They're always trying to change and fix and correct or readjust and realign. every aspect of their spouse. And so that can be very controlling. Like, I don't like what you have on. I don't like the color that you chose. I don't like you need to cook. Like, everything's an issue. Everything's an issue. There's some legitimate concerns that a spouse does have for their partner. But when they can't operate and function like an adult, and it takes on a very parent-child relationship where you micromanage every aspect of their life, it is a sign of control.
Hassani, I've noticed with a few of my clients that have had this issue is when that takes place, that individual that's doing that had it done to them. So if they grew up with not having a voice and being told what to wear, what not to do, when to speak, that now that they become adults, as much as they didn't like it, that's what they're used to. And now they're in a situation where they can control someone else. That's what they do. That's just part of, in their mind that, okay, I was controlled all my life. Now I'm going to be the controller. I'm going to take control, and I'm going to force my thoughts upon you, and you're going to take it just like I had to.
I think it's important too with that to recognize the fact that a lot of times people who do operate like this, it's a self-esteem issue. There's something that's going on within them. Maybe there's some insecurities or something. And I agree with you, Jewel. A lot of it may have stemmed from, their childhood or past experiences, past relationships or whatever. But a lot of it has to do with how they view themselves, how they feel about themselves. And so they're overly critical because really they may be seeing something in that other person that they don't like about themselves, and they take that out on their spouse instead of doing the necessary work that they need to do to heal themselves.
Excellent point. Here's one more before we go to a quick break. A sign of control in a marriage, whether it's coming from the husband or the wife, it is a veiled or an overt threat that's constantly made in the relationship. And so one of the classic ones is when someone threatens to punish, when someone threatens to leave, right? Yeah. And oftentimes when there's a threat of punishment, a threat of leaving, or threat to take away something, it is used as a form of manipulation and control. And oftentimes, and we've said this before, particularly when people threaten to leave, I'm leaving the home, let's separate, let's divorce. A lot of times, these are individuals who've been threatening this all throughout the marriage. And so they're not going anywhere, but it's a form of control to get their way. And when they know that their spouse has a fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of disappointing their spouse, fear of doing something wrong, they will comply. And so now that becomes the dynamic, the relational pattern between these two. It's a dance that they play, and it just doesn't serve them. And it may get you what you want in the moment, but in terms of mutual satisfaction, it doesn't serve, and it can ultimately tear couples apart. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, again, that happens. I mean, you were spot on with what you said with now it's low self-esteem on the other side, right? The previous point you made, it I think is connected with the individual who's controlling having low self-esteem. But on this side, it's they are with someone who has low self-esteem, and they're playing on that. They're using that to get what it is that they want. A lot of times too, I think they themselves have a fear of abandonment. And so they try to get ahead of the situation. They're trying to control the narrative, right? If I'm the one that leaves, I leave before you get to leave me. But at the end of the day, it's still manipulation.
Without a shadow of doubt. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about what to do with a controlling husband and wife, a spouse. You're watching us. We'll be right back after this quick break. Stay right there.
Hey family, Hassani and Danielle here, and I want to tell you about the Phoenix Awards Gala happening on October 7th, 2023. Couples Academy is hosting its first annual Phoenix Awards Gala, a celebration of perseverance, patience, and persistence, focused on couples who have endured and overcome significant hardships in their marriages.
Nominees of this prestigious award will have come to the brink of destruction in their marriage without giving up, and are living a testimony to what is possible when two stand as one.
This is no ordinary gala. we are honoring 5 of the most resilient couples across the U.S. and abroad. And here's the most exciting part. You get to pick our nominees. And there's more. Wear your most exquisite gowns and black tie ensembles and prepare for a 50-foot red carpet, cocktail reception, dinner, live music, and dancing. We're going to raise the roof and the standard for marriages on October 7th, and we want you to be there.
For tickets, go to couplesacademy.org/events.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to Couples Academy.
Hey guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about what to do with a controlling spouse, and we're identifying some of these signs of control that either you may not be conscious of that you're engaging in, or you're very consciously aware of how your spouse is showing up. One of the next signs I want to talk about is when your love is conditional, that the things that you do in the relationship is conditional. So I will if you. So it's a way, once again, of getting your spouse to do for you what you choose for them to do before you step up and do for them. And so in that type of relationship, there's almost a scoreboard approach, right? Where we're tallying up, we're keeping track, and it's very tit for tat. And so that's not the way a relationship should work. And when couples engage in this type of behavior, it can create a disconnect, a huge disconnect, in internal frustrations that people tend to not speak to all the time, or they're always in some type of feud and argument because of this type of conditional relationship that we see. Now, I know that you've worked with many clients, and they may come to us for a variety of different reasons, but when you dig into the weeds of their relationship, a lot of times we find that this is a problem, this if you will, then I will, right? This conditional response. What have you seen in your experiences?
Sonny, the key word that you used was disconnect. As long as the relationship is like that, there is no form of connection. And if there's no connection, there's nowhere to go in this marriage. There's no way that you're going to make this marriage, a better relationship, a better husband, a better wife, as long as one person is controlling the narrative of how things go in that relationship.
That tit for tat thing, that if then thing, it never works. It never works. And what it ends up doing is putting both parties in a position where no one wins. And we're supposed to be a team. That's what we're all about here at Couples Academy. It's, I love it every single time. It never gets stale. It never gets old. Hassani, when you say that we're fighting for your last name and not your first name, and we all as practitioners have adopted that mantra, right? That direction, that priority, that focus, like that's what we all strive to do, is to fight for your marriage. But nobody can win if you are focused on your own satisfaction, joy, pleasure, interest, whatever the case may be, and you're waiting for your spouse to show up in the way that you feel they should show up before you show up. So I'm saying every single time with my clients, like, you gotta, like Danielle says, draw a circle around your own 2 feet. You have to focus on what it is that you're supposed to be doing, what God has called you to do, and let God deal with your spouse. But you still have to account for what it is that you do or do not do in that marriage. So you need to focus on showing up the way that you need to show up.
Without a doubt. Here's another one. It's kind of similar and it's in the same realm, but it's slightly different. It's creating a debt that your spouse is now beholden to. So, for instance, there's certain personalities in a relationship. They're very altruistic. They're very giving. They serve. They show up in their relationship and they're, accommodating their spouse, but they're doing it with a motive attached. And so they're quick to remind their spouse of now what you need to do for me based upon what I've done for you. So if whatever it may be something that you're demanding that they give you, and you can hold them to it because you're reminding them about all the things that you've done to them. Now, once again, the motive and the agenda and the intent behind what we do makes what we do either good or bad. So if you're lovingly doing something to serve your spouse because that's what a relationship is a good thing. But when you're doing it as a form of manipulation to get from them what you want, well, then it becomes something else. And then if you don't get what you want, now you're going to threaten to withhold certain things until you get what you want. We've seen this in the bedroom. I know you could speak to this, Lakeisha, how sex can oftentimes be a tool of control and manipulation. So, hey, I gave you sex last night, so I demand this, or I'm not giving it to you until you do that. And so it just causes a relationship to really spiral out of control.
Well, we make it transactional. We make sex transactional. When you pay me by washing those dishes, then I'll pay you by giving you some oral sex tonight. And it doesn't work that way. Like, that's not what we should be doing. We should be engaging in these types of activities, whatever they are, with our spouses out of love, because we want to connect, because we want to please our spouses. We want to make them happy. And that translates outside of the bedroom as well. Everything that you're doing, you should be doing because you're a team member on this team. And we all have roles and responsibilities and things that we need to be doing. So we can't make these things transactional, even like I said, outside of the bedroom. I'll do this when you do that, or because you did this, I'll do that. No, I'm doing it because I love you and I care about you and I want you to be happy. And I have a role to play as well. And I have to do my part. So
let me point out another issue. We're going to go in a different direction, but once again, these are controlling factors that we see in relationships. When a spouse does not respect the other spouse's need for time alone. Now, it's important that as a couple, you spend quality time together. It's important as a member of the family, you spend quality time with you, your spouse, and your children. But it is also important that you have your own time alone for yourself to recharge, to reboot, to refresh, to revive, to restore, to do all the things for you to become the best version of yourself. Because when you are tapped out and there's no more left in you, it's hard to show up as a wife, as a husband, as a mother, as a father. When you're constantly pouring and pouring and pouring out, well, at some point you're on E. And you can't pour out of an empty vessel. And that time alone allows you to become who you're supposed to be. It gives God time to fill you back up. And so sometimes going out by yourself is okay. Going to the mall, going to just whatever it is, going for a walk, spending time alone in a separate part of the house to read a book, to woosah, to do whatever it is that you need to do to get you back to your best self. And because some people are so controlling or struggle with insecurities, they don't respect other people's time for privacy and alone time. I want you two to speak to that.
Hassani, that doesn't happen overnight. If you think about it, when in the beginning, we didn't want time to ourselves. We wanted that person to be up under us 24/7. We wanted them in the same room. We wanted them attached to our hip. If you was in another part of the house, something was wrong. So it didn't happen overnight. But what we don't understand is when we are like that, we set the stage for how that person thinks things should be going forward. Now that everybody is comfortable and now you've come into your own, you need your space. You want that space, whatever the situation may be. And now that person doesn't know how to handle it because they now cannot function without you around them or them around you. So we have to look at the bigger picture of when did this start and who started it? And then how do I fix it?
That the Enneagram style 5s are like, thank you, Hassani, for pointing this out. Thank you, Couples Academy, because 5s need that time to be alone, to be able to recharge and refresh because they're drained by people. When you think about introverts and extroverts, extroverts, like myself, we're good with being around people. We get energy from being around people. But introverts are like, you are sucking the life out of me. And after they have been around a large amount of people, they need that time to retreat. And it can be a gender thing at times too. How ladies, we like to process outwardly when we're going through something. We call our girlfriends to talk through it. But men have to go in the cave in their mind to be able to process. So it's the same thing. We all need time alone. If nothing else, we need time alone to talk to Jesus. So can you just give me some time by myself to talk to Jesus? Can I do that?
Keisha, I retreat while you're in the group.
Right. Exactly.
Like, okay, I gotta go.
I'll be back.
But you all are making relevant points. And so one of the things that we encourage you to do as we wrap up is, some of you are watching this live. Some of you are on drive time on your way to work, or you may be at your cubicle, or you may be in the kitchen, but you're watching this alone and you're shaking your head like, oh my God, you are hitting this straight on. This is exactly what we're going through. And so listen, you try to broach these conversations with your spouse and they're not receptive. And this is why we say it's okay to rewatch this live. Right? To rewatch it with your spouse together, because we may be giving voice to certain things that you've attempted to articulate, but they couldn't receive it from you, but they're willing to receive it from us because it came from another vessel. It didn't come with an agenda attached. It didn't come with motives as your spouse would think. And so they're able to hear it differently. It lands differently. And then shifts and changes can begin to take place in your marriage. So we encourage you to allow this to be one of the tools that you use in your workday. For those of you who've been following us, you know exactly what that is. But listen, guys, until then, we're going to do a part 2 of this tomorrow because we're just getting started. We're just scratching at the surface. And the reason why we take our time with these topics is because we want you to implement the things that we share so that your relationship looks and feels completely different. So thanks for tuning in. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode. Take care.